I think all Indian people, right, have a right to expression. All Indian people have a right to religious freedom. All Indian communities should feel free to express themselves. So I don't differentiate between any community, any caste. I think India, as I mentioned just now, is a conversation, and the freer and more open that conversation, the more powerful India becomes.
सभी भारतीय लोगों को अभिव्यक्ति और धार्मिक स्वतंत्रता का अधिकार होना चाहिए। यह कहना है कांग्रेस नेता और भारत में विपक्ष के बड़े नेताओं में से एक राहुल गांधी का, जो इस वक्त अमेरिका के दौरे पर हैं और कल उन्होंने वॉशिंगटन में नेशनल प्रेस क्लब में मीडिया को संबोधित किया और भारत से जुड़े तमाम मुद्दों पर बड़ी बेबाकी से अपनी राय रखी। उन्होंने देश की भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार पर भी जमकर हमला बोला और देश में सांप्रदायिकता फैलाने का भी आरोप लगाया। नमस्कार, द वायर देख रहे हैं आप। मैं हूं आपके साथ चिराग झा और कैमरे के पीछे हैं देवी दत्त। आज इस वीडियो में हम राहुल गांधी के द्वारा वॉशिंगटन में प्रेस से की गई बात का सारांश आपसे साझा करेंगे, क्योंकि इस बार राहुल गांधी ने एक ही सुर में उन तमाम मुद्दों पर अपनी बात रखी है जो देश की राजनीति के साथ साथ आपसे और हमसे जुड़ी हुई है। राहुल गांधी ने न केवल चीन के मुद्दे पर सरकार को घेरा, बल्कि भारत में इंस्टीट्यूशंस और प्रेस की स्वतंत्रता पर भी सरकार को घेरा। आइए सबसे पहले आपको सुनाते हैं कि उन्होंने कैसे बेरोजगारी और अर्थव्यवस्था के मुद्दे पर सरकार को घेरते हुए देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को बेहतर बनाने वाले पीएम नरेंद्र मोदी के दावे को भी खारिज कर दिया।
I mean, what we see on the ground is massive unemployment and dramatic increase in prices. And this is one of the reasons we won the Karnataka election, was that there was a feeling in India that there is a set of people who have a huge amount of wealth, and then there's a large mass of Indian people who are poor and struggling. Huge income disparities and unemployment. I think it's a 40-year high for unemployment. So to say that the economy is doing well, I don't quite agree with it.
And are there particular policies that are cause for concern or that should be changed?
I think the central difference between how we see it and how the BJP sees it is we believe in decentralization of power. We believe in supporting the small and medium industries, and we believe that they are the engine of growth in India. Mm-hmm. And they tend to concentrate power and wealth in few limited people. So that's, I would say, broadly that's the difference in the economic perspective.
इसके साथ ही राहुल गांधी ने बीजेपी सरकार पर देश में सांप्रदायिकता और नफरत फैलाने का भी आरोप लगाया। अमेरिका में राहुल गांधी का यह बयान ज़रूरी इसीलिए भी हो जाता है क्योंकि हाल ही में अमेरिका के स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट ने भारत में धार्मिक स्वतंत्रता की स्थिति पर चिंता जाहिर की थी।
They sort of generate a certain amount of hatred in society. They polarize society, and they are not inclusive. They don't embrace everybody, and they divide society. That's yeah, and that's damaging in my view to India, because India has always had a tradition of conversation, of openness. All our great leaders, spiritual, political, Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, all of them promoted harmony, promoted peace, promoted conversation. So it's in our culture, it's in our history to sort of bring people together and have these dialogues. So that's I think it's a difference in ideology between us and the BJP. Mm-hmm. We feel India should be allowed to express itself, and we feel that political leaders should be comfortable in sort of being questioned and should learn from that questioning. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just a difference in viewpoint.
राहुल गांधी यही नहीं रुके। उन्होंने चीन के मुद्दे पर भी पीएम मोदी को घेरते हुए कहा कि चीन ने हमारे क्षेत्र पर कब्जा कर लिया है और यह एक तथ्य है। उन्होंने 1500 वर्ग किलोमीटर की ज़मीन पर कब्जा कर लिया है और यह बिल्कुल अस्वीकार्य है। हालांकि पीएम मोदी इस बात को नहीं मानते हैं। सुनिए उन्होंने क्या कहा।
What is your reaction to Prime Minister Modi's statement that not an inch of land has been lost to the border with China? And can you talk about India's relationship with China and how it's changing?
I mean, the fact of the matter is China is occupying our territory. It's an accepted fact. I think 1,500 square kilometers, land the size of Delhi, is occupied by them. And I think, it's absolutely unacceptable. Prime Minister seems to believe otherwise. I don't know. I mean, maybe he knows something we don't know.
भारत में प्रेस की स्वतंत्रता पर आए दिन सवाल खड़े होते रहे हैं। वर्ल्ड प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स 2023 में 180 देशों की सूची में भारत का 161वें नंबर पर आना इस बात का प्रमाण है कि प्रेस कितना स्वतंत्र है। राहुल गांधी ने इस पर भी वॉशिंगटन में मीडिया के सामने अपनी बात को रखा। सुनिए उन्होंने क्या कहा।
No, I think the fact that there is a weakening of press freedoms, this is not hidden. I mean, everybody knows it. It's apparent in India. The rest of the world can see it. And I think press freedom is very, very critical for a democracy. I mean, one should be open to criticism, and one should listen to criticism. I mean, that's the feedback loop that builds democracies. And definitely, there is a weakening of press freedom. I mean, and it's not just press freedom. It's on multiple axes. On multiple axes, there is a clampdown on the institutional framework that allowed India to talk, that allowed the Indian people to negotiate. I view India as a negotiation between its people, between different languages, different cultures, different histories. And the architecture that Mahatma Gandhi set up was to allow that negotiation to be carried out fairly and freely. And that structure that allows the negotiation between India's people is coming under pressure. I mean, this is a question you should ask Mr. Modi. So more apt.
Okay.
I don't know how you'll get there.
As soon as we get him here.
I don't know how you'll get there, but yeah, I think it would be better question directed at him.
Okay.
वॉशिंगटन के नेशनल प्रेस क्लब में राहुल गांधी ने न केवल मोदी सरकार पर हमला बोला बल्कि अपने विजन को भी सबके सामने रखा कि अगर भविष्य में वह और उनकी पार्टी अगर सरकार में आते हैं तो वह किस दिशा में काम करेंगे। उन्होंने कहा कि भारत के पास पहले से ही एक मजबूत व्यवस्था है, लेकिन यह प्रणाली कमज़ोर हो गई है। लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि सिस्टम मौजूद नहीं है। अगर लोकतांत्रिक बातचीत संभव हो जाए तो यह मसले अपने आप सुलझ जाएंगे।
If your party were to return to power, what changes would it seek to implement to ensure the rights of minorities in India?
I mean, India has a very robust system already in place. That system has been weakened, right? But it's not that system doesn't exist. If the conversation, the democratic conversation is allowed to be fostered, then these issues will settle themselves.
So the rule of law is in place. It just perhaps isn't
No,
followed.
it's you have to have an independent set of institutions that are not pressurized and controlled, and that's been the norm in India. This is an aberration. What is taking place in India. So, from our perspective, the foundations of democracy in India are very strong. And the protections exist, but they're being sort of disturbed.
And you see that if Congress came to power, they could quickly be restored.
I mean, quickly, I don't know, but the Congress Party is the institution that conceptualized them in the first place, right? So we don't view them as our institutions. We view them as institutions of the state, and so we ensured that there was independence and neutrality in these institutions. And it's not difficult to do if that's what you're trying to do.
इसके बाद राहुल गांधी ने उस विषय पर भी बोला जिस पर शायद हर कोई उनकी प्रतिक्रिया चाहता था। जी हाँ, उनकी संसदीय सदस्यता जाने पर राहुल गांधी ने इस पर कहा कि 1947 में देश के आज़ाद होने के बाद वो शायद पहले ऐसे शख्स हैं जिन्हें मानहानि के मामले में इतनी कठोर सज़ा मिली हो। राहुल गांधी ने अपनी सदस्यता जाने का कारण उस भाषण को भी बताया जो उन्होंने सदस्यता जाने से ठीक पहले संसद में देकर मोदी सरकार से उद्योगपति गौतम अडानी को लेकर तीखे सवाल पूछे थे।
As you said, I asked a rhetorical question. I asked the question, why? Well, you described it.
Right.
I'm fighting a court case, so I have to be careful. But I asked a rhetorical question, and I'm the first person in India to be given the highest punishment for a defamation case. It's the first case. I'm the first person in Indian history since 1947. Right? Nobody has been given the maximum sentence on defamation, and that too on the first offense. Right? So that should explain what's going on to you. And my disqualification happens quite interestingly after I make a speech about Mr. Adani and Parliament. So you can do the math.
Let's see.
But you know, my disqualification is not really, it's okay, it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the thousands and thousands of other voices, civil society, government, bureaucracy, who are being frightened into submission. That's much more important to me than my disqualification. My disqualification in many ways is an advantage for me.
How so?
Because it opens up completely new spaces for me. You know, it allows me to completely redefine myself. And I think they've given me a gift, frankly. They don't think they realize it, but they have.
अंत में राहुल गांधी ने हत्या की धमकी मिलने पर भी प्रतिक्रिया देते हुए कहा कि उन्हें इससे डर नहीं लगता क्योंकि उन्होंने अपने पिता राजीव गांधी और दादी इंदिरा गांधी से यही सीखा है।
I've grown up with a sort of narrative about my country, Gandhian narrative of what the country is, what it should look like, what is important. So that's what drives me. I'm not concerned really about, you know, threats of violence and assassination and stuff. I mean, everybody's got to die, you know. So, I mean, that's what I learned from my grandmother and my father. So, you don't back down because of something like that.
तो यह थी राहुल गांधी के संबोधन की खास बातें। जाते जाते आपको बता दें कि राहुल गांधी 30 मई को अमेरिका पहुंचे थे, जहां वो 3 शहरों का दौरा करेंगे, जिसके बाद 4 जून को वह न्यूयॉर्क में एक जनसभा को संबोधित करके अपने दौरे को विराम देंगे। तो अभी के लिए बस इतना ही। ऐसे ही सटीक खबरों से जुड़े रहने के लिए आप देखते रहिए द वायर। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका।
द वायर के और वीडियोस देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन पर क्लिक करें। स्वतंत्र पत्रकारिता की आर्थिक मदद करने के लिए डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए लिंक पर जाएं और अपनी राशि चुनें।